Well, hello everyone. Hello from downtown Denver. It's so nice to see you all. And today I'm going to be telling you a little bit of a personal story about my life and something I have worked to overcome and how I changed my mindset to do that. And I'm hoping that some of the information that I share with you today can also be useful for you. So as I'm due before every video, I'm going to go ahead and share this on my personal page as well, and then we'll get right to it. So just a moment, please stand by. Does anyone say that anymore? It's so, I feel like I'm dating myself there. What's that, like the time life operators are standing by? All right, just gonna get this out there. And there we go. All right. Well, thank you for joining me. And today I'm going to be talking about setbacks. Those moments where we perhaps think we have some great momentum, we're achieving things, we're moving along, we're working towards our goals, and suddenly something stops us or derails us. So in case you don't know who I am, my name is Aymii, and I am a cultural innovator and a public speaker. So I help organizations, be they companies or various groups, evolve and elevate their culture to create better work environments, better collaboration, more creativity, and hopefully they see those great outcomes affect their bottom line as well. So that's what I do on a regular basis. So if you know someone or an organization that you think could use a little help in assessing and evolving their culture, please speak to me. I'll put a link in the comments, and I'd love to hear about what's on your mind and who you might know in that regard that could perhaps use some guidance from me. So that's who I am. This month I'm creating the series of Facebook videos around the theme of rewards and motivation. So today will be about a little bit more on the motivation side of that. And before I jump into the topic with both feet, I would like to say we just relaunched our website, ensomastudios.com, and now it's much more reflective of what we do to help organizations and companies develop their leadership, their culture, their teams, and so on. So I'll put the link in the comments at the end of the video. Please check it out, and I would love any feedback that you have on the new redesign. All right, today's topic, setbacks. Does a setback have to be a setback? I'm wearing an Avalanche hockey jersey. I'm going to stand up and show you my jersey here, because not only are the Avs in the playoffs, which is super exciting. Talk about setbacks. They were in last place last year, the very last place team in the entire NHL, and as of tonight, they are playing their first playoff game for the Stanley Cup. So that is a huge turnaround. You know, you could have looked at last year as a major setback. They lost their head coach. All kinds of things were going on behind the scenes with the personnel and the players and so on. And to have overcome all that and ended up in the Stanley Cup playoffs tonight is a pretty significant testament to what can be done when you have the right people working together in the right way. So I'm not only wearing my jersey because go Avs, I'm super excited about that, but because this story about me is about hockey. And hockey has come to mean, ice hockey has come to mean a lot in my life. I play it, I train for it, I skate usually 5, 6, sometimes 7 times a week. And it means it's my friends, it's how I stay healthy, it's fun, it's a sense of playfulness for me. It's taught me to be courageous and take risks and help me develop more confidence. So this is a part of my life that is incredibly meaningful to me. And when I can't play it, it really devastates me. It takes away so much from who I am and what brings me joy in life. So part of playing hockey is taking risks. And I want to just speak for a moment about the concept of risk-taking, because it ties in directly to motivation and what keeps us interested and motivated and moving forward on something. When we knowingly choose to take risks ourselves, that can be empowering and strengthening, and I'm going to learn to take risks, I'm going to be courageous, and taking risk means you're developing yourself in some way, you're trying something new, getting a little bit out of your comfort zone, and that can be energizing and evolve you and help you develop empathy for others who are going through something maybe they're not comfortable with. So that's when you have chosen consciously to take a risk of your own volition. If risks are imposed upon us by others, either knowingly, we know that somebody's asking us to sacrifice or be in a situation we're not comfortable with, or unknowingly, hey, when I went running into this building to save the kittens and puppies from the fire, I didn't know there was asbestos in there, and now I took a risk that I don't know that I would have if I had had that information. So I would probably still go in and save the kittens and puppies. But still, the fact is you have a very different set of energetic actions that go along with taking a risk if it's one that you've chosen versus one that someone else has signed you up for knowingly or unknowingly. So just kind of keep that in the back of your mind. So as you know, when you take a risk, there's a reason it's called a risk. Sometimes there are consequences, and sometimes it works out, and sometimes it doesn't. And as long as you've accepted that those consequences are there, and the potential for either one of those outcomes to happen, the one you would like to happen or something not ideal, then you can own the outcome and use it as a form of motivation. And there's a definition of human suffering in Buddhism that I like very much, and I try to keep this in mind as I'm struggling with things in my own life that maybe don't go quite as planned. And it's the definition of suffering is clinging to that which changes. So just sit with that for a second. Clinging to that which changes. You can almost feel it squirming around in your hand as you try to hold on to it. We all probably know someone who doesn't handle change well, or at least in a particular area of their life. Well, getting injured is a change. And most people accept, who play hockey, that getting injured is part of playing hockey. That's one of the risks you take. That's why you wear padding and mouth guards and all the things you wear. But even with all that protection, the risk is still very real. Ice is hard. People are soft and squishy. At least I am. Some people aren't quite as soft and squishy as I am, but I'm kind of soft and squishy, and getting, falling into the boards on the side of the ice, those are hard too. So it's basically part of hockey, and you accept that these risks of people crashing into you and possibly doing a little bit of friendly physical contact during a game is just, that's fine, that's part of it. So those were the sort of risks I had thought I'd accepted. However, back in the mid-90s, I was in a really bad car accident. I was driving a 1978 CJ7 Jeep, open top, no doors, had only lap belts, and the tooth on the spider gear in my rear differential broke off. And that tooth flew around inside the differential and locked up my rear axle as I was driving on the highway. So in a matter of moments, I went from happily driving in a straight line to spinning 180 and rolling down an embankment in, again, this Jeep with no shoulder belt, just a lap belt, and the seats only go up to about your shoulders and no headrest. So my head hit the steering wheel. I've actually had to have my face sewn back on inside, so they did a good job. It's pretty much it's a little bit lopsided, but aren't we all in some way? So this was a car accident I had had many, many years ago. Well, I was playing hockey and doing some drills where we were crashing into the boards, and so somebody would purposefully hit me from behind, and I was learning how to push back and maneuver the puck out and do some things like that. Well, the next day, my arm really started to hurt. My elbow really started to hurt, and I figured, what the heck did I do? Is this tendonitis kicking in again? Why am I so prone to tendonitis? Well, I went to a great physical therapist, and he discovered that injury there was actually a result of a back injury I didn't even know I had from that car accident back in the 90s. So here I am feeling very, like I said, upset, because this is not a risk I chose to take. This is not a hockey risk. This is what the heck. I've had a nagging injury since the 90s that now just decides to come out and ruin the thing that I love doing, and I was just, why me? I was having a little pity party, and be glad you weren't invited. It was not a fun party. So I wallowed in my self-pity for a few days, and couldn't really, couldn't play hockey, couldn't hold a stick, couldn't hold anything in my left hand. And I talked to my coach and said, hey, I'd like to come back and try and skate, but I really can't do anything. I can't hold on to anything. So this was a moment where I decided I'm going to own this. I'm going to say, okay, you know what? Doesn't matter whose fault it is. This is what it is right now. How do I move forward from here? So I went to my next coaching session, and we have a piece of equipment on the ice called a carousel, and it's pretty much what it sounds like. There's a stick in the middle, a pole in the middle, and a bunch of bars that go around and kind of create like an octagon, and each player can hold on to one of these bars, and you skate around, and you have that added stability, so you can practice your crossovers, forwards or backwards, or all kinds of things where just having that little bit of extra stability while you're moving can help you perfect your technique or learn a new technique. Well, I couldn't even hold on to this carousel, and that used to be my security blanket. I would hang on to that thing till my knuckles were white, and the centrifugal force is pulling me off, and I'm grabbing on, and I'm going fast, and I'm feeling good, and I loved that feeling of quickness and power and so on. Well, I realized very quickly I couldn't hold on with that hand, with that injured hand, and that sucked. I was like, well, I can't even do the stupid carousel. That thing makes me happy, and now I can't even hold on to that. But what the coach said was, you really shouldn't be hanging on to it for dear life anyways. It's there to help guide you to perfect your technique with a little extra help, not to, be this strength test for my grip. So I said, okay, well, I'm going to still try to do everything then and just rest my arm on top rather than gripping it. And so that's what I started to do. And boy, was it humbling. I had to basically take a step backwards and actually learn the proper technique and not rely on hanging on to be able to skate fast, forwards, backwards, turn around in the middle, spin around and grab it again, all those things that I took comfort in being able to hold on to this carousel, I had to actually now learn to do on my own. Well, fast forward now a few months, and I've just recently, within the last few days, been able to really start hanging on to that again. And I don't even want to. That's what I realized. By having this setback, by having this injury, by forcing myself to have to relearn how I was using that crutch, if you will, and I consider, I now consider that the way I was using it, it was more of a crutch than a training tool. And I would invite you to kind of think about what crutches you might have in your life that you don't even think of in that way, that maybe you're just hanging on to, not even necessarily too long, but maybe in a way that's not as healthy as it could be, or or maybe it's just time to try something new, or to let go, or to take that next step. So I hadn't realized until this injury that I was using that as a crutch. This injury that set me back and depressed me became an incredible source of motivation for me. If I can learn to do this the right way, then that will completely change the way that I play the game, that I skate, that I can do other things. So that's when it really hit me. That the way we manage setbacks and risks and accept them and own them makes all the difference in how you evolve as a person. Think of something maybe right now that you're frustrated about, or that you're resistant to doing, or that you are willfully neglecting. And think about why. Is there a way you could ask for help? Could you share the burden with someone? Could you just share the thoughts with someone? Could you approach it slightly differently? I think about an analogy as if you're driving down a slippery road at night. Most of us aren't going to get out of our cars and try to dry off the road. And if you are doing that, let me know, because I'd like to come see that attempt. But most of us would slow down, take the curves a little bit more carefully, maybe turn on your high beams. So that's a single situation, a wet or a slippery road, a wet road, that there are many different ways to manage that risk. You could decide it's too much and pull over and wait for a while. But getting out and drying off the road is probably not going to get you very far. So think about how you might be dealing with certain risks or setbacks in your life. If I had just decided to sit home and watch TV and not even skate at all and say, woe is me, this sucks, I wouldn't have made some of the friends that some of the very good friends that I met while I was injured were actually kind of inspired in a way by my injury. There was one woman who said, hey, I was always intimidated to go do this, but when I saw that you could take it as slow as you needed to, that you could really do it in a thoughtful manner and within your own limits of your own capabilities, she said, I decided I could try. And knowing that I was doing it with this injury, she felt more confident, more comfortable that she could move past her own limitations to also attempt to do something that was out of her comfort zone. There's a great quote by Oliver Wendell Holmes that I want to share with you before I sign off in a couple minutes, is that the young man knows the rules, but the old man knows the exceptions. And I really think that that is something I think that's an important concept. It's something I try to embrace. There's this idea around hockey of how you play it with a stick in your hand and a puck, and how do you train for that? Well, I had to look at some of those rules about how I thought hockey should be played and practiced and what it meant to be a hockey player, and realized it was time to make an exception and do this in a way that still was meaningful to me, but maybe nobody else would want to take this same approach. So I've been really thinking a lot about the key abilities that come into play in remaining motivated and remaining energized in life. And there's a great book, if you haven't heard of it, it's called Emotional Intelligence by Daniel Goleman. And there's 7 concepts in there. I'm going to leave you with these to think about how you might be able to work on these in your own life. The ability to motivate ourselves is 1. The ability to persist against frustration. So that's kind of what today's topic was about, is 2. The ability to delay gratification. Well, that's kind of part of this persisting against frustration. Is, for me, the gratification is playing in a hockey game and hopefully winning it. I can't do that right now, but I know that that's still out there for me, and that someday I'll find a way to do that again. I'll persist through this. And that's delayed gratification, being able to do that at some point in the future and banking on that. The ability to regulate moods. You might feel one thing, but you know when the appropriate times and ways are to let that out. Having hope, having empathy, and controlling impulse. Those are 7 things that are abilities that are most beneficial to humans. So maybe pick one, give it some thought, think about how you're evolving that area of yourself on a day-to-day basis. So, as I said earlier, I invite you to look at some area of your life where you've experienced a setback or a roadblock and ask yourself, am I owning this situation Or am I blaming others, or the universe, or some nebulous set of factors? At some point, it doesn't matter whose fault it is. Own where you are and look to move forward from there. Can I try to reframe that and bring some aspect of the situation under my control by trying something new? Can I ask for help? Even if the help is just, I need to vent. You don't need to help me figure anything out. I just need someone to hear me so I can get this off my mind. And on that last one, if you do need someone to talk to about anything of this nature, culture, behavior change, I would invite you to use the link I'll put in the comments and have a chat with me. I particularly love talking about how all of these factors also impact group culture and organizational culture. And as I said at the beginning, I specialize in cultural innovation and elevation. I also do public speaking. So if any of those are things that you might know of opportunities around, I would love to hear from you. Otherwise, be kind to each other and have a wonderful, beautiful Thursday afternoon and a great weekend. And I'll see you same time, same place next week. Bye.